Okay, the sound story is for John Rasch. John, you're younger than me. That's kind of disheartening for me.
Not by too much.
Yeah, you went to John F. Kennedy High School.
Yes.
Now, that had been one of the earlier classes, because that started, what?
My sister was in one of the first classes.
Yeah.
I think the first class, yeah. So I graduated in 1978. She would have graduated in 1972 or something like that. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it wasn't. It wasn't
new school.
Yeah, pretty new, and they're not there anymore.
Yeah,
it closed down unfortunately a few years ago.
And so then you went to college, bachelor's in mechanical engineering, University of Missouri Rolla.
Yes.
Master's in engineering management, Washington University.
Yeah.
Wow, we got a lot to talk about here. Your hobbies are fantastic.
I like to do a lot of different things.
Yeah. So let's go back and find out a little bit about you when you were a youngster. What's like your earliest memory as a person?
Oh my gosh, our family, we had 8 kids growing up, so 7 brothers and sisters, 5 boys, 3 girls.
Wow.
And that was a combined marriage between my birth father, who died when I was 6 months old. This was in Kirkwood. We lived in Kirkwood, and my mom had 5 kids. My birth name was John McMackins. Now it's John Rasch. My dad is Oliver Rasch. He owned a service station in Kirkwood, by the way. But they got married. She had 5 kids. He had 2 kids, so combined to make 7, and then 1 more after that. So yeah, I was the second youngest of the. I was the youngest of the 5.
Yeah,
and then second youngest of the total 8. So growing up, so my youngest memory, to answer your question, in the old house we lived in before all of us combined together, I do remember, and this, I must have been 3 years old or something, with just a neighbor kid. Probably never seen her again. I probably never seen her again since those early years. But playing in a toy box somewhere in that house. Must have been 3 years. It's weird how you think of things like that. But and then walking down the street where we lived on Ruth Drive in Kirkwood, near where the service station is. Walking down the street and the house is there, and our North Kirkwood High School, junior high school, was right behind us, and there were some tall pine trees. I remember that. Almost that vision of being there.
Sure, yeah.
Kind of strange.
Yeah, so you have memories of your neighborhood, kind of when you were a little kid, and what was going on. So your dad had a gas station there, a service station. He was probably a pretty famous guy.
He was well known in Kirkwood, Oliver
fixing
Rasch,
people's cars.
Ollie, everybody called.
Was it auto repair too?
It was auto repair and gas, a mobile station. It was Rasch Mobile, and I worked there when I was, up till starting when I was 16 years old.
Is that where you think you developed your interest in engineering and maybe?
Not really. I think more so than that, and that helped. That definitely helped to be able to fix things and stuff like that. But I think I developed an interest in engineering. I really wanted to be an airline pilot. Just, the whole thing of airplanes and all that stuff. So that kind of prompted me to want to go in engineering. But the reason I actually went to Rolla, my oldest brother, Brent, was... he was kind of a stinker. He was the black sheep of the family, and everybody knows that, and he knows that. You would never, my family would never think this, but he's the one who said, "Oh, you want to be a pilot? You got to go to Rolla." And this was probably when I was in high school or something, So I went to Rolla.
It just stuck with you, huh?
And that made me go there to become an aerospace engineer, so I could become a pilot. And then ended up, that's when, was it the Challenger, the space shuttle, Challenger or Columbia?
Yeah, I think it was Challenger, wasn't it?
That blew up.
Yeah.
And so that kind of put a damper on all the aerospace field, the whole aerospace field.
Really?
And so I got out of that and became, instead of aerospace engineering, went into mechanical engineering. It was a safer safer approach, and that's what I graduated with. And
Safer, you mean because it's to get a job?
to get a job
Yeah.
in 1983 when I graduated. It was the economy wasn't so good for all of us in engineering. When I started at Rolla, the old upperclassmen would say, don't waste your time getting anything above a 2.0 grade point average because you'll never need it. You'll get a job. And,
Really?
you know, the economy kind of went
Yeah.
downhill, and it wasn't the case when I graduated. So it was a little harder to get a job then, but, you know, I did. Not in aerospace, at Hussman, which is where I still work to this day for the last 40 years.
Doing what for them?
I'm a mechanical engineer. That's my degree. It's refrigeration. So Hussman makes the display cases at supermarkets, Schnucks and all these, you know,
Right.
freezers and frozen food and medium temp meat cases and stuff like that. So all those where you buy your frozen food and stuff, that's what we do. I'm an engineer there, so I've been in different parts of engineering there, designing the backroom equipment, the compressor racks and stuff that drive the cases, and then into the case design, and then into what I've been doing for the last 30 years, I think, is case testing. So that's what I do now. That's my strength for sure, is the testing. So we, you know, have several test rooms there in a laboratory, and we test them to make sure everything runs well and, you know, performs well, and reducing energy and all the things with different, you know, all the stuff with global warming and everything, and first ozone depletion. It has forced us to go to different refrigerants and stuff. That keeps us all busy, very busy.
Has that made a difference?
You know, I'd like to think so. You're talking about the ozone depletion and global warming and stuff like that. I think it has.
Good.
I don't know about global warming yet. It's all that is still going on. But ozone depletion, I think, absolutely. You know, they've done studies. I think that the whole thing with the ozone hole, that all started in the mid 1990s, and it was getting worse and worse all the time. And the amount of those are the chemicals called CFCs, chlorofluorocarbons. Anyway, reducing those in both what we do and aerosol propellants, all that stuff. You know, has made a huge difference in the amount of you know, the ozone in the atmosphere and all this. So I think it is. I'd like to think it is. Now, global warming is everything's still out on that, and it's, you know, and that's becoming more and more of a factor in everything we do, and everybody does. Everybody, you know, cars are less polluting and everything else, and going to electric and all that stuff. So who knows how it's all going to shake out, but
you had a role in that. I mean,
I'd like to think.
That's pretty cool. As an engineer, do you also have to be creative? Are you the one that has to come up with different mechanisms and things that have to work?
Now, yes, although I'm not as good as the mechanisms. I'm good at, you know, making things work and testing things, and the stuff you don't see where it's working, the fluid part of it, the heat transfer part of it, you know, why things are cold, why they're not cold, why they're airflow, all those kind of things that happen in the case that nobody ever thinks about, but that's what's happening. I think I'm pretty good at that. Everybody on our team contributes in some way. You know, there's a lot of people that are involved in all this stuff.
There's like a chain reaction.
Oh yeah, the whole thing. You know, the whole design team comes together and then works with the production people and the manufacturing people and all that stuff. So it's important that everybody works as a team. For all this to come together, because I'm not good at everything, and neither is anybody else, and you have to count on all those other people working together as a team to get stuff to happen. Right? I mean, you know, same as baseball and everything else.
Let's go back now and talk about, because your children or grandchildren who hear this in the future will want to know a little bit more about their genealogy and, you know, where your grandparents came from. What do you know about your history, your family's history? Kind of bring it up to date through you.
Okay. Yeah. All right. We'll start with my birth father, the McMackins. Scotch-Irish, and one of our cousins did the whole genealogy, the tree, the family tree, way back, and found out, and this was really interesting. Found out that our family, the McMackins, went back all the way to from before they came into the U.S. This was in the 1700s, I believe it was,
Wow.
where they came to the U.S. But from Irish and from Scotland. So McMackins is a Scotch-Irish name. But even before that, from France. And it's funny looking at this. It's interesting looking at this genealogy. We got a whole book on it. They were almost sort of kicked out of every place. The family. The name was Ken and became Kin, and Mick and Mac are both sons of that's kind of how that name came about. But yeah, they were in an alliance type of thing with one of the royalty, and I think that name was Ken, and I may have this mistaken, but that's how the name came about. But got in disfavor with them or something, so had to move from France to Ireland and Scotland and all that stuff. So that was kind of interesting. So all up through the years, and then migrated over to, I think it was South Carolina, and then that family that my father was born in, they were born on a farm in Caruthersville, Missouri, cotton farm, I believe it was. So I have memories of that as well. Going to that farm, they had a blind horse named Dolly that they would put on us kids, or put us kids on to ride. Very slowly.
Yeah, she wasn't going very far.
No.
Did she have a stick that she used to? No.
Blind in only one eye.
Oh, one eye. Okay.
Yeah, sorry. I may have said that wrong. But I have memories of doing that on the farm.
That was your father's side
That was
of
my
the family.
father's side of the family. My father's father. Yeah, so the grandmother was not in the picture. She had died several years before I was born. But yeah, that, and then going there with my brothers and sisters and everything, and then.
What about on your mother's side of the family?
The mother's side, they were Fallards. They were Normandy High School. I believe she went to Normandy High School. So St. Louis, St. Louis City, and I think her father. I can't even think of what that name. Or it would have been Fallard. Can't think of what her mother's name was. Olga. That was my grandmother. So and he died. My Fallard grandfather died long before I was born, also. But I was told he was a coal salesman, going door to door. One of those people that delivered coal into people's chutes.
Yeah.
That's how they did heating and everything back then.
Right. Yeah.
Cooking and whatever else. So that was the Fallard side of the family, and I don't know much about that.
When they came to the United States. Yeah.
No, I don't.
Yeah. But on your father's side, your family history, you guys have been here since the 1700s.
That side of the family, yeah, the McMackins. Wow. Yeah. I think it was the 1700s that they first have the first people that came over.
Now, you mentioned your father passed away when you were 6 months old. What did he die of, and how old was he?
They said it was a heart attack.
Oh.
And back then, you don't rescue people from heart attacks, I guess, but that's what it was. So but nobody in my family has any heart disease or anything like that. So,
yeah. So maybe they don't know exactly what happened.
No, that's what I kind of wonder. But who knows? But it could have been,
Yeah.
And I think he, in fact, they say he went into the hospital for a gallbladder surgery or something like that, and then the heart attack might have been a result of the whole procedure or something.
Yeah, because they were knocking them out with hammers back then.
Probably so.
It was more difficult.
Yeah.
So your grade school was St. Clement's?
Yes.
Yeah. What do you remember about those days in grade school?
I was more into studying. I was a good student in grade school, and just did not like school very much
No?
because all it was to me going, getting my good grades, coming home, and having fun at home,
Yeah.
not at school. But just overall, it was a good school and prepared me for going to high school and everything else. But yeah,
What were your high school years like at
kind of almost the same
Yeah.
at Kennedy. Yeah, kind of the same. I had a group of friends that I don't really see much of them anymore. I see them on Facebook and everything else, but I hardly ever see my high school friends. The people I hang around with are, my college friends and everything else. But I wasn't a athlete. I wasn't into sports at all. I played Little League baseball, but that was it for sports. I regret that. I wish I would have. I wish I would have done something, but
you just didn't have the interest at that time.
I was small.
Yeah.
I was a small kid, felt like I couldn't do anything.
I know that
couldn't
feeling.
play basket.
Yeah.
Now I'd love
Skinny
to
and
do
weak.
all this.
Remember those magazines? There was a guy who was getting sand kicked in his face,
Atlas,
and
yeah.
Atlas.
Charles Atlas,
I always thought I was the guy that was getting his ass beat.
Yeah, right.
So it really works on your psychology. When you see those things in a magazine back then, you go, "Oh, I'm him."
Yeah. And there, and it's an excuse because there's kids that were as small as me that were playing soccer and everything else, and I wish I would have done that. And now I do, and I push my kids into doing as much sports as they could. And
you turned into quite the athlete. Ran a marathon, water skiing barefoot, skydiving, hang gliding. You hiked the Grand Canyon rim to base.
Rim to base, and I'd like to still do it rim to rim and rim to rim to rim. That's the ultimate goal. But the rim to base was a kind of a different experience.
Now, what does that mean? So you start up at the rim and you go all the way down to the Colorado River and you come back up?
Yeah. Yes. And you start at the south rim. You can do it either way, but start at the south rim, and what we did is went to the base and camped out there. The plan was camp out there overnight, and then hike back up the next day. And they've got a lodge down at the bottom you could stay at, and you can camp out. And we chose to camp out. It's really hard to get reservations there. You have to get reservations for the lodge I bet a year in advance. And camping is a little bit easier, but you still have to get them 4 months in advance. And we did that and camped out. I went with a friend of mine my age and my son Jeremy and his friend Aaron Telly. You can see that name on the tire place. But we went, and they went ahead of us, being younger, and they scooted down. Got down to the base in probably 2 hours or something like that. It's normally a 4-hour hike, but with me and my friend, he was struggling, and
struggling how?
He was having a hard time getting down. He was having a hard time walking, hiking, and just couldn't. At the midpoint going down, he said, "I got to stop," and we called the. They had an emergency phone there, and we called to see if they could get somebody to get him back up to the top because he was struggling really bad. And that's getting down.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's going down.
Go back
that's
up.
the easy part.
It's supposed to be.
Yeah.
And it took us 10 hours to get down.
Oh, my gosh, 10 hours.
By the time we got down, he had to go to the medic's tent and everything, and then they made us stay an extra night because he couldn't get back up the next day.
Yeah.
He stayed, I don't think he spent the night in the medic's tent, but he spent a while there. And so we had to stay an extra day, and that was kind of tough because the wind came up the next day. It really whipped. The wind was blowing our tents over in the middle of the night and everything. And then the next day, the day after that, then we finally hiked back up, and it was an experience, and so that's why I want to do it again, do it right.
Yeah, do it. Yeah. Would you do it by yourself? And
I would, but it's probably not a good idea.
I don't mean totally by yourself, but I mean not with somebody that you would also have to be responsible for.
I said I'm not going to do it with somebody my own age.
Oh, yeah.
No, that's not true. There's other people my age that'll do it that are in good shape, but you just gotta think about who you're.
When did this happen? When did this come about? Your a willingness or desire to want to do things like that? Some of these other things you've done. Was that always in you as a kid?
I've always wanted to do stuff. When I was a little kid, I would be climbing to the tops of trees all the time. Anything. We would take bike rides from my house in Kirkwood down to the Merrimack River. It's probably only 10 miles, but it's 10 miles when you're kind of a little kid. So
yeah.
I think I've always wanted to do that.
And there were no bike trails, and there were no painted lines for you to keep your bike in or anything like that. You just rode along the parked cars and hoped that somebody from behind you didn't knock you off.
Yeah, my parents probably didn't know I was doing that.
Yeah.
So no, I always had that, and I had friends that would like to do adventurous stuff. My parents had a boat, so that got me into water skiing. So I became a pretty good water skier.
Mm-hmm.
So that was, we would go to Lake of the Ozarks on weekend trips a lot. I think I started water skiing when I was 6 years old. And then had friends that taught me, well, first you learn how to ski on one ski, and then had a friend who also worked at the gas station, by the way, that taught me how to barefoot and barefoot ski.
How do you do that?
You start out on one ski, take one foot out, you put it in the water, put your weight on it, and then just drop the other ski. And there's other ways you can do it too that are harder. You can start out on a boom where you're holding on. You can start out deep water start where you're just holding on to the rope. You have to kind of pivot yourself around, put your feet in the water, and stand up. And I've tried to do that, but I was not successful.
Does it hurt when you just your foot? No? Okay.
It hurts when you fall.
Yeah.
Because you're going 40 miles an hour on the water.
Yeah.
And the water's kind of, it does hurt a little bit. Sometimes I've landed and, you kind of hit your neck the wrong way and you think, something bad happened. But so far, nothing's bad has happened.
Yeah.
I'd like to think I could still do that, but I'm not sure if I could. I'd like to. I'd still like to try again, but maybe not a good idea.
Well, I want to get into more of some of the things you've done here. The list is incredible. But I want to go back to your college years and talk about that a little bit. What it was like at University of Missouri, Rolla, for you?
Well,
they told you don't get over 2.5, 2.5 on the GPA, right? But but did you?
No.
No. Okay.
I mean, I got above 2.0,
Yeah.
not much above 2.0. And a lot of my friends, same way. It was hard. It was a hard engineering school. And I was not as good at math as a lot of people were there. You have to be pretty good at math to do well in engineering. And I wasn't. And it showed with my engineering classes, calculus and all the stuff you got to take. So I didn't do very well in those classes, but by the time I started getting into the practical engineering classes, I did better. And I feel like I'd love to do math now. I'd love to be able to start over from that again, because I think I would do so much better now. I just having a practical use of math and your the engineering work. It's kind of fun to do actually, but it was school was tough. I had some of the best times of my life there, though.
Yeah. Tell us about
college.
some of those.
Well, things like all the friends I had in my fraternity, still have. Phi Kappa Theta is the fraternity there at Rolla, and they're my friends to this day. Very good friends. We would just do things together. We'd go trout fishing at the Merrimack or in Merrimack Springs or something. Just those kind of things, but. A lot of parties, a lot more drinking than we should have done. That's probably why my grade point wasn't the best either. But, it was all that. It was fun. And, and I always say it was the best time of my life and the worst time of my life because school was so hard, but the friends and everything were so fun. And we'd go to Columbia, go to Mizzou for on weekends sometimes. That's where I met my wife. At a fraternity function at the Phi Kappa Theta fraternity up there. That's where I met my wife, and been together ever since. So a lot of fun times.
Yeah. Well, when you first saw her, did you? What were your first thoughts when you saw her?
We met at the fraternity function. There, we had a dance. The Rolla chapter and the Columbia chapter of Phi Kappa Theta got together. We had a dance in their basement, and I kind of bumped into her, and
Really?
just started talking to her, and I can remember saying, "Oh, my name." I said something stupid, really stupid, like my name's John Revolting. Because my last name is Rasch, and that's revolting, or something really stupid like that. I don't know. I remember that. And her friend Candy, who she's real good friends with still, also was talking to my friend Steve, and they got together. We went on a first date. A couple weeks later, she came down to Rolla for St. Patrick's Day. I don't know if you've heard of St. Pat's at Rolla, but it's a pretty big deal. So she came there, and we got together. That was a couple of weekends later after we first met, and spent the weekend together, and then had some dates after that. Went to a movie shortly after that called Being There. It was the guy that played the Pink Panther. What's his name? Anyway, he was in that movie. Just a no-name.
Peter Sellers.
Peter Sellers. Yeah. Went to that movie. I can remember that. Just kind of funny how things all worked. And
I wonder how many couples have gotten together from Missouri S&T.
Oh man.
to Mizzou.
I can imagine. No, there's a lot.
To a lot of people.
Because a lot of us would. Yeah.
Yeah, because
Rolla did not have a lot of.
No, I was going to say because of the football team and
and Rolla didn't have a lot of girls there.
Right.
So I think it's more, the percentage is higher at Rolla now, probably more, and I'd like to see more girls get into engineering for sure, because it's traditionally been a more male profession, and the girls are always good engineers. But anyway, but that's where we go to to Mizzou, and go to the football games and just to meet girls, and I bet you're right.
Now, did you also go to Washington University?
After I had been working for 20 years or so, probably. I went to WashU. I always wanted to get a master's degree. And I went to a few classes at UMSL. I went to a few classes I went to a lot of classes, actually, at SIU, Edwardsville. I was going to get a degree, and, when I first started my job in engineering at Hussman, I didn't like working, and I thought I didn't like working in engineering because I didn't like my job that much. That was up until 1990, early 90s, I guess. And so I thought I wanted to change professions, and I started at SIU to get a degree, a master's degree in environmental studies, because I thought that's what I wanted to get into. And then so I did that for a few years, and then I started liking my job better at Hussman because I got into the lab and decided I wanted to stay there. And so that's when I decided to get an engineering, and I got into management also at Hussman. So I decided an engineering management degree would be better for me career-wise. And so I went to WashU and applied there and got accepted into that program. And my first day at WashU was, my first day was supposed to be September 11th, 2001. Of course, the classes were all canceled that day. So I remember that too. But so 2001 to 2006, I believe, is when I went there and got a master's of engineering management degree.
But by that time, you became a serious student, and you took
those
courses pretty seriously. I
did a lot better at WashU than I did at Rolla.
So you met Susan, and tell us about how life changed at that point, and when did children come in, and
we got pregnant while I was still at school. Got married in May of 1982, and my son Jeremy was born in September of 1982. So we were at Rolla, married. She was pregnant for my last year of school. So it took me 5 years to graduate.
She was pregnant after you got married or before you got married?
Before we got married, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And so, my first year, or my last year at Rolla was in married student housing. So I moved away from the fraternity, of course, and lived in married student housing. And Jeremy was born on September 27th, 1982 was when the Cardinals clinched not the World Series, sorry, the
National League Championship?
National League Championship back then, because they didn't have that would have been the National League Championship pennant. They clinched the pennant that day. So
in 82?
82.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So you found out that Susan was pregnant. What was that like at that moment?
Scary.
Yeah.
Scary, and I remember thinking at the time that this is going to be good for my life. It'll be good because we're definitely in love and everything, and so it was
a positive thing. You felt positively about it.
Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah, 3 of the 4 Beatles had gotten girls pregnant that they eventually married.
Is that right? That's good company.
But back then, there was a stigma there. It was like it was frowned upon.
Oh, now nobody. I mean, people don't even get married. Yeah. It's a different time,
different world.
But that's that's okay. So it's
so Jeremy comes along, and you're a father for the first time.
Mm-hmm. We were young. We were very young parents. 21 years old, and
at college.
At college.
How'd you make that work?
Oh my gosh, I don't know. I don't know how we made that work.
Yeah,
it was hard. I mean, we were poor. We were poor for our first, 10 years until 10 years ago we were poor. I mean, barely. First Jeremy, and then Nicole and Stephanie, and 3 kids, and just getting by. Engineering's a good career and everything. My wife went back to school. She got her degree in advertising in the journalism school at Mizzou, but she was a mom, so she stayed home. And she went back to school and got a teaching degree so she could teach. And so she ended up getting into teaching after a time. But there was a while when, other than her babysitting and stuff like that, we're, getting by on just my salary. So it was tough to get by. And in the, that first year, going to school, we had our parents help bailing us out pretty much, both of our parents. To get through that, and then, knowing that I would most likely get a decent job and be able to get on our feet after some time, which we did, so that was all good.
You started working at Hussman right out of college, pretty much.
Well, yeah, pretty much so. But that first summer, I graduated in May. The first summer, I did not get a job right away. Not everybody got a job, even in engineering back then. And so I actually worked for my, before that, I worked at the gas station, gas attendant, doing oil changes and stuff like that, simple jobs. But did not do that. Instead, Sue's father had a trucking company, and so I drove a 18-wheeler pickup truck for that summer.
Wow.
And I didn't like that, but, but it was definitely interesting. But I did that for the summer, and then by the end of the summer, I said, man, I got to get out of this. I got to get a job. I got to get an engineering job. So I just started walking into places, applying, whether they had ads or not. And I walked into Hussman because they were, right across the river in Bridgeton. Walked in there, asked for an application, and they gave me an interview. It was either that day or the following day or the following couple days later or something like that, and they gave me the job that day. So they were looking for engineers.
Yeah.
So I lucked out getting that.
And now you're a principal engineer.
I'm a principal engineer. I've gone through different roles there in management and stuff like that. But principal engineer. I don't have anybody reporting to me, which is nice. But it's a well-respected position, one of the top engineering positions there, and just very interesting work.
And being with the company as long as you have, I mean, I'm sure you are revered in that position as somebody who is, I mean, you started, well, not the bottom, because,
pretty much at the bottom, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I mean, as
so
far
you know
as
the industry, you know the
people.
business inside and out. You know the company inside and out, right?
Pretty much so, yeah. I'd say so. Yeah, and you're right. A person like me gets a lot of respect because, I really like working with the younger people just out of college and everything, teaching them what I know. And, I'm not going to be there a whole lot longer, and I'd like to think that somebody's going to be, that the younger people are going to be able to catch on to some of the stuff I know because they need to. And
are you optimistic about the young people who are coming in and doing these jobs?
In some respects, yes. In other respects, no. Sometimes, the younger generation's definitely different as far as I see a work ethic difference, I think. Some people are really, really good. Other people, not so much. I think there is a definite difference between. You guys are probably in the younger age.
Has it always been that way? I mean, like the generations before us, you think they thought the same thing about us?
I bet they did think that, and I see that. I think that. I mean, you think about that. All the people that had to go through the war years and the Depression years, what kind of person that would make you. That would have to make you a better person. And we didn't have anything like that. But, I don't know. Maybe we inherited that from our parents or something, or they instilled that in us, the work ethic and I'm incredibly cheap. Everybody knows that. And I think I get that from my mom who grew up during the Depression.
Yeah. Yeah. You were raised by a Depression-era mother.
And, we were also poor not when I grew up because we were fine. We were good. But my wife and I, growing up with little kids and everything, we didn't have a lot of money. So, we had to be pretty cheap.
Well, when you say cheap, I mean frugal. I mean, you mean you're planning for the future, right? I mean, you're saving money, planning for the future. I mean, I wouldn't give that a negative term myself.
Yeah, I agree. I'm not sure everybody else would agree when they.
I think you're being smart.
Maybe so.
Yeah,
I hope so.
So you have one son and you have two daughters.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
The difference between raising sons and daughters, you have experience in both.
Uh-huh.
What are some things that come to mind?
Oh, gosh, they're all three just the greatest kids. As far as the differences, and I don't know if it's because my son is the son or because he's the firstborn, but he's definitely, and I think he would tell you, and my two daughters would say he's kind of a leader as far as, his personality and everything else, so, and he was always good. They're all three were always really good, but I don't know. As far as being any different to raise them, they're I don't know. They were all just so good.
Are you different around your son than you are with your daughters?
I can't think of any way that I would be. I don't think so. I'm different around them now than I was when they were little, for sure. We like to do things together. We like to go on vacations and stuff all the time, and we just get along so well. But including with the in-laws, my daughter-in-law and then my two sons-in-law, all three just very good. We're very happy. We're very fortunate to have that. And they all live in town. They all live in St. Charles.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of people that I know that can say that.
Yeah.
So the whole family, all 7 grandkids.
Awesome.
All right there.
Yeah.
So our Christmases, not even Christmases. We'll get together on a Sunday. I had a fish fry a few weeks ago, and everybody came over. Real impromptu, and just everybody comes over. It's a blast. It's so much fun.
That sounds fun. Why did you come up with the name Jeremy for your son, Nicole and Stephanie for your daughters?
Back then, you would look in books and see names and just try to pick one that that you liked, and
no family connection to the names?
No. Now our kids they are, the middle names do. So Jeremy is Jeremy Michael. That's my middle name. Nicole is Nicole Marie, and that is my wife's grandmother's name, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, Grandma Marie. And then Stephanie Carolyn. Carolyn is Sue's mom's middle name, Ruth Carolyn. So yeah, kind of we went for the family connection with the middle names. My kids did probably kind of something similar with naming their kids.
Do any of them take after you?
My son was, when he first declared a major in college. They all went to Mizzou, by the way. My wife went to Mizzou, and all three of my kids went to Mizzou. So went to a lot of football games. But he declared engineering major, but ended up switching over to biology soon after he started, because engineering wasn't for him. But as far as taking after me, not career-wise at all, because none of them are engineers. But in the things they all like to do, they all like to, they're very active. They run. I think I'd say so. Yeah.
Speaking of running, I mean, do you think they saw Dad run and?
Actually, no.
Yeah.
it's kind of the opposite. I didn't run until Jeremy got into cross country in high school, and he said he beat me in a run, and I said, no way, 13-year-old kid, you're not going to beat me. And we ran out of the block, and then he beat me bad. So that's when I first got into running. So that was
and
kind of
not just into it. I mean, you run a marathon after age 60, and then several half marathons, triathlon.
Yeah, not an Ironman, but sprint triathlon.
Sprint triathlon. What is that? What is sprint triathlon?
Well, this one was the Newtown triathlon, and it's 0.6 miles swim, 20-mile bike ride, and 4-mile, 4.1 or something mile run. So it's smaller than an Ironman or anything like that.
Where'd you run your marathon?
The two I've done were the Go St. Louis, and then the Cowbell. Oh, no, I'm sorry, not the Cowbell. I had several half marathons, St. Louis and stuff like that. But the last one I did was 3 years ago. I'm 63, so 2 years ago in Wisconsin. Because training for it, I wasn't going to be quite ready for the St. Louis one, and the one in Wisconsin was just a couple weeks later, so I did that one. In Oshkosh or something like that, Wisconsin. Anyway.
Yeah. Before running a marathon, your mindset, aren't you nervous? You don't know if you're going to make it. Anything can go wrong at any time. Do you get anxious before these runs? Or?
No, not as far as the preparation for running.
Are you trying to do it for time?
No.
No, I see.
Just to finish. Now, there's times I would try to beat my previous record.
Yeah.
Do a PR, personal record. But no, now I just want to finish, and it doesn't matter how long it takes. But no, I don't get nervous for the run. I get nervous for trying to find a place to park.
Yeah.
That's not always easy.
Yeah, right. Trying to figure out the parameters.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
How am I going to get there? Am I going to get there in time? All the stuff.
And then you go to another town and do it, and that adds some of the anxiety.
Absolutely,
You
going
don't
to
know
Wisconsin.
where you are.
Yeah, because then you got to get a hotel. You got to find a place where you can get a good, carb-filled dinner before the night before and all that stuff. So it just adds a little bit extra stress to it. Although I'd like to do more, probably more half marathons out of town because it's all just a fun atmosphere.
And you see the city as you run through it. It's an interesting thing.
Yeah.
Have you ever thought about maybe trying New York, Boston?
Not Boston because you have to qualify.
Yeah.
And I'd never do that. Although the older I get, the easier it is to qualify. But I still don't think I'd ever.
What are your times for a marathon?
2 hours for a half marathon. 2 hours and 30 minutes, somewhere around there, and then. So 4 hours and the best marathon time I think 4 hours and 15 minutes I think is what it was, something
Pretty
like
good.
that. Yeah, I was happy with that.
Yeah,
I was very happy with my first marathon time. My second marathon time wasn't as good, but still, I'm is finishing a marathon.
Do you run every day now?
Not every day, probably every week though.
Yeah.
Almost every week, a couple times a week.
Mm-hmm. Well, what are your distances when you run?
So if I'm training for a marathon or something, I'll work. I'll usually do 3, 4, 5, up to 6 mile runs. If I'm training for a longer run like that, I'll work up to, a 12-mile run or something like that, and then do the half marathon. And if I'm training for a marathon, I'll then continue increasing that until I'm ready. So I'm always looking for good places to run around the area.
Tell me about your hang gliding.
That was just a one-time thing, and I did that. It's one of those things you do just to do, but it was at a place down in where the lead mines are and stuff. I think it's Leadwood, Missouri, where they have hills for the mine tailings or whatever, and you kind of run off a hill. And you catch wind, and it's probably 100 feet up in the air, and you catch wind. And I caught wind for 30 seconds or something like that. But I can say I did it.
Yeah.
So
Is it dangerous?
I did see when we were there a guy who got pretty high in the air and did one of those whirlwind or corkscrew into the ground, and he didn't get hurt, but it could be.
Wow.
I think it can be.
And then you've skydived?
I've skydived, yeah.
Is it a tandem skydive?
No,
or do you do them by yourself?
Static line by myself. But the static line is where you've got a strap connected to the chute that as soon as you jump out of the plane, it opens up. But what a cool experience that was. And I'd love to do the free fall. Someday I think I will do the free fall. But you'd have to do a tandem for sure until you work up, the experience and stuff like that. But it was a very neat experience.
How high did they take you?
1,000 feet, I think.
And then
I think it was 1,000 or 2,000 feet.
Yeah.
And then you jump out, and it's over cornfields in Illinois. But still, not a great view, but still a view that was just.
And how'd you know how to land?
Experience.
You just
they teach you. They do a little
you.
class ahead of time and have you jump off a little thing. Yeah, so it was neat.
And you rode the Katy Trail full length. Last leg was over 100 miles in one day.
Yeah.
So you started where and finished where?
In the beginning is near Truman Lake, and the name of the town there escapes me. I can't remember the name of the town. But you finish in Mockins. It's near Sedalia. It's
okay, yeah.
15 miles.
So you came from west and you went east.
Yeah, took the train there. Oh. So the train, it's only $25 or something to ride the train there with your bike. Mm-hmm. You take the train there, you put your bike on there, and it'll take you as far as Sedalia. And then I rode from Sedalia to the place where Truman Lake is, to that city, and stayed there. And I didn't camp out, but I would go, 40 miles a day, and I would just stay in hotels along the way. So I had my backpack and all that kind of stuff. But that was a fun ride. And then the last day was from Jeff City, and just wanted to get home, so I finished it. It was over 100 miles that day for the last leg. And I would have finished. I just went to St. Charles and then stopped, and then went. Then the next day, finished from St. Charles to Mockins, which is only a 12-mile ride. I would have finished that day, but it started raining, so I had to stop.
Yeah.
So I went just to St. Charles. But it was over 100 miles, so I can say I accomplished 100 miles in one day. So
that's impressive.
That was an accomplishment.
Wow. And then you went whitewater rafting.
Done that a
Where
couple
was that?
times.
On the Colorado River?
On the Ocoee River in, where is that? That's in Tennessee, just near the Tennessee-Georgia border.
Oh,
it's it's either in Tennessee or Georgia, but it's right there at the border. And it's where they filmed some movie there. But yeah, that was intense. That was with a couple times. Once with my daughter's softball team and all the parents and everything, and then another time with my son and his friends. And that was a neat experience. It was a lot of fun.
What level of rapids were they?
Whatever the highest level is, level 4, level 5, 4.5, something like that. So they had stretches that were the highest, depending on kind of what part of the river you take, it's that highest level. But it's it's pretty intense. You get tossed out and everything. Did
you get thrown out? Yeah.
I didn't.
No.
But another guy did. On one stretch, and they teach you what to do if you do fall out. You just have to keep your feet in front of you, and you have helmets and everything, so you don't get dashed against a rock. Yeah. But it's a fun experience.
Is it like the rough rapids that you'd see like in the Colorado River?
Yeah.
Because I can't imagine. What are there mountains down there? What would make the creek the river so rough?
Well, it is the Smoky Mountains.
Oh, okay.
It's the Smoky Mountains. Yeah. So, and then they have, they actually that river, they kind of dam it up for power generation, I believe it is. And so every day they release that whole dammed up water. So there is a lot of water going through there. Really? But it is Smoky Mountains, so it's that kind of river.
What is bumper skiing?
I forgot I put that in there. This was in, remember that big snowstorm in 1982?
Yes.
I think it was 1982.
Yeah, I remember that.
We had 14 inches or something, maybe more, and all the roads were closed for a week or so, at least several days. Went to West County Mall and tied a rope to the back of a bumper. This was me and my brother Terry.
I know what it is now.
And held onto the rope and just skied on our feet on the slick parking lot.
Okay.
I did it in college one time too.
I thought it was like an official sport or something.
No. It might be. I don't know.
Something you guys made up. That's funny. You visited Iceland. That's one of your more interesting places you've been to.
That was neat. So,
who'd you go there with?
Volcanoes with my son and my two sons-in-law, Jay and Matt, and we did a guys trip to Iceland.
Yeah,
that's the only time I've been to Europe, and I guess it's not officially Europe, but it's it's on the European continent.
I hear the women there are cold.
No. That's good. Actually, it's funny though. In Iceland, everybody speaks with the most perfect American accent. You just wouldn't even think they're not foreigners. You wouldn't think they're anything but American. And it's, we talk to them and they say, they kind of learn to speak the American accent because they get so many American tourists there.
Interesting.
A lot of waterfalls, and did not see the Northern Lights. We were hoping to see the Northern Lights while they were there. So my wife and I are going to have to go to Alaska so we can see the Northern Lights.
Yeah. So what are you into as far as, I know a lot of your hobbies are going out and doing challenging, fun things, athletic things. But do you have other hobbies besides that?
Oh, man, I love to do everything. I like to fish. I like to bike ride, swimming, boating, golf. I'm going to retire in year and a half or so, a little bit less than that, and I'm gonna want to fill my time with doing that kind of stuff. And I really like to fish. My brother and I are going on a fishing tournament at Lake Barkley in a couple weeks, and even before that, he's got a place at Lake of the Ozarks, so we'll go there and go crappie fishing. And I've got a little boat, little John boat that I'll take up to Mark Twain Lake and go crappie fishing there. But yeah, I like to fish.
Are your grandkids old enough to do any of these things with you?
Taking them. Yeah. I love to take the grandkids fishing.
What are their
much
ages?
Fun.
They vary.
All right. I'm not going to get this right. The oldest is 10 and the youngest is 2, and something like that. I might be off by a year. I always have to ask my wife, but in that range. So all and they're all close enough in age where when we get together, they play together. 3 of them are close to 7 or 8, and then a couple of them are close to that 2 and 3 year old. And they're fun.
They're a blast right now. They're having a lot of fun with them.
It's a lot of fun. And taking them fishing is fun for bluegill and stuff like that. So we're going to be going to Table Rock this summer for a vacation. We'll have to get some
you
fishing
like
there.
sports? You like music?
Oh, I love music, Casey fan for sure. I really like...
Any fun concert experiences that you...
Oh, man, yeah. We go to a lot of concerts and try to go to a lot of concerts at whatever it's called, the amphitheater.
Hollywood Casino
Amphitheater now, go to a lot there. But my first concert was Leonard Skinner, and that had to have been shortly before they all died, or they died before Ronnie Van Zant died anyway. But that was my first concert. But Poco is one of my favorites. That's my favorite band. Everybody knows that. I'm a big fan of them.
Yeah. You like the Southern rock
definitely.
era?
That's probably my favorite. All the stuff you play on the classic
Marshall
show, of
Tucker.
course, and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So thanks for doing that. Keep doing that for a long time.
Yeah, I'll try. You do it. So how do you feel the world has changed in your lifetime?
Oh, there's been a lot of things, and I don't really have a good. I'm not a political person or anything. I kind of go with the flow, but technology is definitely the biggest change. Younger people, everybody, not just younger people anymore, can't get by without technology. And I'm not a phone person. People know I'm not going to answer my phone right away, but technology at work is definitely had a huge impact. We, when I started, we were on a drafting board. Material bills, all the systems were on paper, hard copies of paper. Yeah. It's just, drafting board with drawings in a drawer, and everything's email, everything's, text and, text messages and phones, and, you can get a hold of anybody right away.
Yeah.
We'd have handwritten notes to tell people what to do.
Did you notice a dramatic increase in productivity from yourself and from your workmates in particular at any particular time? What really transformed the things you're doing now? Was there? Yeah,
there had to have been. I don't know how we did it. I really don't know how we did. We had less people, and we're doing drawings by hand. I think our changes don't happen. Changes didn't happen as fast. Changes happen. Development is much more rapid. It's definitely more rapid now. Plus, you're doing things with computer. The computer not animated, but the software to do analysis of structures and all those kind of things, and fluids and airflow and all that. That's done on computer now, which unheard of back then. We would have to test it to find out.
Is AI coming into play in your job?
It is, and I don't know enough about that to comment on that. But I know, it is. I hear people talk about that, and I'm not good at those kind of things at all. I'm old school. On everything. I have a hard time even learning the newest Excel stuff, whatever. But yeah, I think it is. I think it's going to be more computer generated.
When you look back on your life, I mean, me looking in from the outside, I say, wow, this is a guy who is living his life to its fullest.
Well, thanks. Yeah.
Do you feel that way?
I do.
Yeah.
I really do, and I don't want to stop doing that. I'd like to keep doing this for another 50 years if I can. Just the same way. You're right. I'm enjoying life. I've been blessed, and we are blessed with the kids we have and the grandkids we have and the life we have and the health and all that stuff. So I can't complain. Everything's been good.
What's the most important message you would want to share with next generations of your family? You mentioned health being a real important thing.
Yeah, take care of yourself. Yeah. Take care of yourself is big. Don't be stupid. Just live life and don't get bogged down with work. I love working. I love my job and I love working. And sometimes I look forward to Mondays because I want to see what's going to happen to whatever I'm testing. And but then I also look forward to weekends. Every Monday I also look forward to the weekend. So I always have something to look forward to. That's important. But love and respect and take care of yourself and have fun. There's so much fun to be had out there. Don't get bogged down with all the things with work, and don't work if you don't like. Don't do a job you don't like.
Yeah. All right. Well, John, I enjoyed speaking with you here today.
Yeah, well, I have too. It's been
finding out a little bit about you, a lot about you.
Yeah, well,
You've done good.
Yeah, well, thanks. I appreciate that. You've done a good job getting words out of me because I don't talk this much.
Is there anything else that you want to say before we close?
No, I think. I didn't talk enough about my dad, who owned the gas station.
Yeah,
Ollie Rasch. My mom and dad, Arlene and Ollie, my whole family. The 8 kids, my 7 brothers and sisters have been a big influence on my life. They were almost. My oldest brothers and sisters have been almost parents to me, in some respect when I was a kid. But my dad having the gas station, raising, my mom and dad raising 8 kids, putting 2 families together, making that all work. I gotta respect that.
Yeah, you look back on that and how did they do it?
Yeah, I wonder. I want to talk to my brothers and sisters about
you look back on things and you wonder how they do it, and then you look forward and you go, how am I going to do it? Mm-hmm. It's like if you just lived your life, it all seems to take care of itself.
Somehow it does. Yeah, you're right about that. Yeah, and as you asked about a message, somehow things take care of itself. Now you have to work for it.
Sure.
You have to work for it, but somehow things are going to work out, It's just the way for me, I should, not everybody. Unfortunately, not everybody can say that because of disadvantages and things like that. But yeah, things will work out. Yeah.